This podcast is authorized and paid for by Friends of Gentner Drummond 2026.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bold Ideas with Gentner Drummond. General Drummond, thank you for joining today. I want to talk with you, obviously, over the weekend, major developments in the Middle East, and with your experience as a fighter pilot flying the first combat mission into the Persian Gulf in 1991. You're familiar with the area, familiar with what our servicemen and women are going through. Would you just tell us a little bit about your thoughts on President Trump's actions to bomb Iran this weekend?
Well, it's a long time coming. Iran has been a cancer, not just to the Middle East, but the entire world. I mean, it is the one nation that has relentlessly and ceaselessly injured Americans throughout the United States, culminating in 9/11. And we have never really taken full retribution on that nation for its terroristic acts. And I commend President Trump for making this very bold decision. And it is a bold decision. The ramifications are yet to be seen. They are unknown. Clearly China is on alert and Taiwan may be vulnerable. North Korea is certainly on alert, and Russia is taking notes.
Tell us, these brave men and women that are going into combat, tell us what it's like. What are they going through for us that have never served in the military, and even those that served in the military that maybe never saw combat, getting ready to fly into enemy territory and deliver a strike package? What is going through these men and women's minds and hearts as they get ready to take action?
Well, by now it's day 3, so they've already had that initial and maybe second wave of combat, so they are in a groove. But I will tell you, the precursor to that first combat mission it's intimidating, and you have to rely on your training and your instincts, and you have to be bold. I can remember the briefing where the 3-star general said, "Look to your left, look to your right, gentlemen. Tomorrow, one of them won't be there." And that's a very sobering realization, and certainly going into a formidable threat such as Iran and with Iraq, you check your whole card.
Tell us, did you experience loss of people that you served with during the Gulf War? What was that like? And I know we lost 3 servicemen over the weekend. And any loss of life is just absolutely terrible. But I guess, going in to serve in the military, that you're putting your life truly on the line. But what was it like to lose people that you served with in the military?
Fortunately for my unit and the F-15s writ large during the Gulf War, none of us were shot down, but we shared the hardened aircraft shelters with the British Tornado pilots, and they lost several men in the initial 5 days of the Gulf War. And we would attend their service ceremonies where they would have a Scottish bagpiper, and it was sobering and terribly tragic.
General, tell us about your first mission, and you were ordered to kill. And we've heard in news reports about friendly fire that is potentially taking place and pilots getting out of harm's way. Is it a chaotic time when you're in the midst of combat like this? And what were your experiences during the first Gulf War?
I'm going to break it down into 2 discussions. One, my own experience in that first night, being ordered to kill what ended up being a friendly. And secondly, the anxiety of our ground troops when fighter jets are returning. There's 2 different thoughts here. On the first night of the Gulf War, I can remember crossing the border at 3 a.m. with my 4 F-15s and 48 fighter bombers in tow, and it was remarkable. We, like this war, had already shut down their early warning and their command and control, but yet you had combatants on the ground with surface-to-air missiles and anti-aircraft artillery, and they were shooting at the jets that they could see or hear. And I can remember it was like we were walking across a flak cloud, so many thousands of bullets shot at us and missiles shot at us. So very sobering. And in my instance, we got through that initial barrage and we engaged MiG-29s, and they ran away when we got inside of weapons engagement zone, and went into Baghdad, where again it was heavily defended. And when people say fog of war, it is truly fog of war, and it was remarkable. My strike package did exactly what it was said to do. In my instance, one of our pilots went north instead of south. We all exited the targeted area. I didn't know that he went north. And as I was asked to re-engage, it was in fact on that same pilot who realized his mistake and came south. That fog of war, the airborne controller ordered me to kill. And that's a distinct defensive mechanism, right? Here's a fighter, potentially hostile fighter coming at us. Somebody needs to kill him. And I was ordered to kill 3 times. Did not do it because I believed him to be friendly. And as it ended up, he was friendly, for which I was awarded a Distinguished Flying Cross for disobeying those orders. I also want to address, the 3 F-15Es that were shot down. So in my instance, returning from the combat zone toward our friendly base, in my instance, Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, that air base was defended by Patriot missiles. And the Army controllers on the ground, your radar warning in the F-15 would illustrate to you the azimuth and range of the Patriot missile battery looking at you with its radar as it swung at you. But once it locked on, then you would know that in the cockpit that a Patriot missile just locked onto me. That got 100% of your attention, because if it launched, for which you would get a subsequent indication, you knew you had the rest of your life to defend it, because it was a lethal weapon. And what happened to our 3 F-15Es entering Kuwait to land back to safety, our Army air defense systems identified them as hostile and fired on them and shot down 3 friendlies. So the fog of war will be the attribution of this mistake, but it just drives home the point that we have to be cool and calm in combat, because crazy events happen, and you have to, in the case of a pilot, maintain aircraft control, analyze the situation, and take the appropriate action.
Well, Gentner, somebody that has never served, I have a debt of gratitude to you and every man and woman who's worn a uniform. I just have the utmost respect for anybody that serves in our military. And in this campaign for governor, you are the only candidate with military experience, and you had combat experience. How do you believe that prepares you for leadership and to lead Oklahoma into the next chapter?
Two issues I'd like to bring up. I just mentioned maintain aircraft control, analyze the situation, and take the appropriate action. That's what I do as the Attorney General for the state of Oklahoma. I don't lose my mind. I assess the situation, and I take the appropriate action. What we have lacked in our governorship is a governor with leadership instincts and capacity to engage in a hostile environment and make timely, accurate assessments and the appropriate decision. What we need as a governor is someone unafraid to make hard decisions, even at personal political peril, to do the right thing. And so that's what we need in the chair of the governor. We've not had that. And Oklahoma deserves a leader who is dauntless and unafraid, qualified, and ready to make hard decisions.
I really see a parallel to our leadership in this country under Joe Biden, which was not decisive, which did not take bold action, versus President Trump, who is unafraid of the political fallout from tough decisions. And I've seen how our country has benefited from that. And I believe you're right, that Oklahoma can do a lot of the same good if we have a leader that's willing to make those tough decisions.
No, certainly. Often, as the Attorney General, when I make hard decisions, or I'm in federal court being blistered by a federal judge, or at the Oklahoma Supreme Court being blistered with questions, I often fall back on those instincts as a fighter pilot. One, I'm thinking, well, nobody's shooting at me. And 2, I'm not flying right now at the speed of sound. And so I'm trained to think at the speed of sound. So just thinking as a regular human, I have the advantage, and it calms me down. It permits me to focus on the facts and the relevant law and make the right decision. And the boldness necessary to make decisions. We've not had bold leadership in the state of Oklahoma.
All right. Well, Gentner, I see that you're out at the ranch, and I believe you're going to an event in Pawhuska tonight. But Alexander, is he at the ranch, or has he been activated with this conflict?
So, to the viewers, my son Alexander is a F-16 fighter pilot. He fought in Afghanistan, and that was a moment of pride for me as a father and a former fighter pilot, but also a time of anxiety as a father. So we came through the ranch today to be able to visit with him briefly. He's on the ranch today. As we know, so many of our U.S. based units have been deployed to Europe and the Middle East as the second tier of support for this war with Iran. But there's many units that have been left behind to defend the United States as well. And his unit has an alert capacity in the southern part of the United States. And so that's where his unit is. And I'm hopeful that that's where his unit stays. But I know that they are well prepared, the Tulsa Air National Guard Squadron, to deploy at a moment's notice into harm's way as they have before. And if that comes to pass, of course, we will be in steadfast prayer for the men and women of that unit as they deploy.
Well, tell us about the event that you're going to be doing in Pawhuska tonight.
So tonight, it's the honors banquet for Pawhuska High School. I'm very honored to be able to deliver the keynote speech. I'll be looking to, scores of young Oklahomans that in the near future will be graduating and entering the workforce or university. And it's always exciting to be able to address that next generation and see the enthusiasm and the absolute preparedness that they have for making Oklahoma better and greater.
Fantastic. Well, sir, thank you for spending this time. Have a great time at Pawhuska tonight. And for everybody that listens to the podcast, thank you so much. If you would like to join our campaign, please go to drummondok.com. You can sign up to volunteer, get a sign in your yard, host an event. I know Gentner's going to be campaigning all over all 77 counties going into June 16th. And we covet your support and your prayers and obviously your votes. So thank you again for listening. Have a great night.
This podcast is authorized and paid for by Friends of Gentner Drummond 2026.